between a vegetarian and a vegan for clarity purposes before we launch into this whole discussion about plant-based diets and food and meat and no meat and yeah, what's the difference? What's the main difference?
Well, I won't say that I'm an expert on this, but I've tried out both of them actually, and I've worked with 2 dedicated vegans at PM. So a vegan diet does not include anything at all to do with an animal product. And when I talk about products, it goes as far as even the clothes you wear. Vegan clothes. I went to a vegan fair here. I've attended like 3 of them. And trust me, like I had a stall there for my organization. And people came asking, because we had condoms, people came asking me for vegan condoms. I didn't know such a thing as vegan condoms existed. Like seriously. So veganism, nothing at all to do with meat. And most of them, why they do it is for ethical reasons. Really, they can't bear the thought of eating a dead animal which could have suffered, you know.
Really must ask Florence, when you said even the clothes are vegan clothes, first explain what those look like.
It could be just something you're wearing, but how it was made, you know, like what are the products? And so these guys, they take it seriously. Like they'll look at a product, they'll read the label. And the industry is also changing, really, the clothing industry. Like, because most people now are, you know, leaning towards that. And sometimes when I go to buy something, I look at the label and I'm like, okay, wow, is this, you know, environmentally friendly? How was it made? So they have all those questions. Now, the difference with a vegetarian diet is that they also really don't eat like meat, fish, you know, all that stuff. But for them, they actually, well, most of them anyway, for some of them, they eat eggs, they have dairy or even honey, which vegans do not do. You'd find that a vegetarian diet consist of soya, beans, you know, all the things that we actually eat every day. Like you never think about it. Grains, nuts. You know, I love nuts, so probably I'm an accidental vegetarian on most days and a vegan on some as well. So basically, that's the difference. And a plant-based diet is just really deciding that, well, you can eat some plant-based foods once in a while. So it's gradual.
Would you consider quitting animal products or meat products and all its sisters altogether, or would you even consider reducing eating your meat intake? I'll start with Karuji. Do you even eat meat?
Well,
does she not?
I've considered it, guys.
Looks like a vegan.
I'm here to be converted. You know, Florence, this is your one time to pitch, convert us, and make us, you know, follow the. But I've considered it. I don't take milk and cheese. Okay, I really shouldn't. I'm intolerant. But then sometimes if it's a really good salad, I'll eat the cheese and then pay for it later. I'm not a big fan of meat. I'm allergic to goat meat. I don't particularly like beef. I still eat chicken. Namawojolo, please.
Of course.
I like pork, but everything, or lamb, whatever, rabbit, I really couldn't be bothered. But even then, eating meat is such a hassle on my teeth. So I'm not a big meat fan. So I am considering it. And like I said earlier, Florence, I'm here to be converted.
Wow. Okay, I guess you guys all know how much I love meat.
Oh my God.
And all its products, but that comes probably from a point of deprivation. That's what I think. Because I did eat meat when I was growing up. No, not because of scarcity, but allergy things. So I did eat meat until I think after college. So now I think I'm overcompensating or whatever, but meat really does taste good. I would consider, reducing. I can't say stopping eating, stopping completely, but I would consider for health reasons reducing my red meat consumption. And we still have discussions on whether is pork red meat, is it white meat? So let's hear you, Florence. It seems like you are a fully converted vegan.
I wish I could say that. Okay, let me tell you something. I'm an environmental activist. I've worked for an organization, which works on environmental issues and sexual and reproductive health issues. And I've come to educate myself. I've come to look at, different views and appreciate them. And I thought about it because, at the moment we are having a planetary crisis. Like everyone is saying it. 2019, we are so much aware of climate change than ever before. Well, thanks partly to Greta Thunberg. I'm sure now she's a worldwide figure. We have our own Nakate there in Uganda, who is really amazing. I admire her. So for environmental reasons, I would totally consider going fully vegan. Of course, even the ethical can come in, but I have totally reduced. I have quit actually eating beef. I've quit eating lamb. Josephine, you mentioned that, goat, rabbit, all those animals. And sometimes I feel guilty even eating pork. So, but it's a journey. And then there's something here called veganuary. I don't know if you've heard of it, whereby you go on full vegan for a whole month in January. So they mix vegan plus January to make it veganuary. And they are supportive, like you get a lot of information. So I tried out veganuary for a month. Yes, of course I have a partner, so who loves a big chunk of steak? But guess what? He's also reduced actually his meat intake. It's amazing. And he's one person, like he was talking to me about, livestock does give off a lot of methane. It contributes greatly to the greenhouse gas emissions. And right now it's a problem, especially in the developed world, but obviously it's affecting the developing countries as well. So, oh my God, am I talking too much? Feel free to stop.
Yeah. No, you're not talking too much. You're explaining issues that are kind of fresh, things we don't consider. I mean, when you mentioned something about feeling guilty when you're eating maybe a piece of meat or whatever it is you're eating. I've never felt guilty for eating it. I've never felt, I've never considered the animal. Probably I'm not yet evolved. I've never been evolved enough to, think about animals being slaughtered. Hi, blood there.
I want to tell you a quick thing on veganism, what was telling me about the livestock. Yes, babe.
Yeah. How do cows contribute to greenhouse emissions?
The cows, they contribute a lot to this problem. So obviously, if no one was eating beef and stuff like that, and pork and everything, it would instantly reduce the number of these animals that we need to have. And
then maybe even the farming methods that are really turning off the vegans would also reduce.
There's a video I saw on mass production of chicken. I don't know if you guys have watched that, and it was a total turn off because of the extent we are willing to go for the meat. How those chicken are just supposed to get ready for eating in just a couple of days. And I think for me, those are the things that make me start questioning whether it's really, really, really that important that we're eating meat.
Exactly. You start thinking about it. Babe, we saw that documentary.
Yeah, no, true. It's there are some people that are just growing their goat and chicken in their garden, which they don't harm them. But in the big industrial complex, they have a defined amount of space, and they want to put as much chicken as possible in this kind of space. For example, for the chicken, we've seen some documentary where the chicken becomes so big so fast, they can't even wake up and stand anymore.
Anyway, I know in Uganda, where I am, a lot of people are not actually eating meat. They are not having a lot of meat. Is this whole topic, is it like, are we talking to ourselves? Actually, even not to ourselves. Are we talking to a class that is not there? Would it make sense to ask Ugandans to quit meat, to stop eating meat, or to reduce eating meat if they are not eating enough meat? What do you think?
Think about that Ugandans don't eat meat.
I've been in meetings where nutritionists are telling us that we are not actually eating enough meat as recommended by WHO. No, there are families who eat meat on special occasions. So does that make sense for us to start now talking about reducing our uptake of meat?
We'll probably mainly be targeting, especially people in cities or another class. Because I talked of accidental veganism, by the way. You find that in rural areas, which are mostly 80% of Ugandans, or as it come down now, 75% are in rural areas. Most people don't eat meat because it's expensive, and then they are selling it off. And like you said, it's on special occasions. I remember when I was a younger girl and I was staying in the village with my mom. Like, eat meat like on Sunday or wait for Easter and everyone would be excited. And even in schools.
I think it's a very good remark, because you have some countries where people are producing a lot of gas emissions. Like we always say, American people, they consume in average a lot of electricity and different things. It goes the same for meat as well. Like I said, for me, when I was young, I was having meat every meal, but my mom was always telling me when we were young, we didn't have meat all the time, and the grandparents, even worse, like it was meat on Sunday or something like that. So it came with kind of development, and obviously the developed countries, they have, I don't have the figures, but they have a consumption of meat per person per year that is much higher probably than in Uganda.
Yeah, it's insane. And that's why, in these countries, the developed countries, we are looking so much at, consumption, really, reducing consumption. It would make a huge difference, especially in the climate crisis. But like I said, climate crisis, yes, sometimes it's caused mostly by the high-income countries, but it's affecting the low-income countries. And now, remember, why would Ugandans quit? Because low-income countries, we're not going to stay poor forever. So, everything is catching up with us. And remember, I don't want to go now into the population aspect of it, because the more of us there are, the more we are invading the forests, everything. You guys know, you're journalists. You've seen people are decimating forests left, right, and center.
Must be Karen.
There's a pair of earrings you like wearing, and sometimes they look like ivory or something like that. Do you want to clear the air about your use of animal whatever?
Most of my earrings, the ones that I always wear, they're made out of bamboo. And actually, I bought them one time when I was covering a story on bamboo. And this guy was like, I make environmentally friendly products. And bamboo has more than 1,000 uses, which people don't know. And they attack the trees, attack the forest.
I also have bamboo earrings somewhere in my store.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so I'm planet friendly, guys. I may eat meat, but I still care about the planet. So anyway, talking about vegan diets and plant-based diets, is there such a thing as a balanced vegan diet or vegetarian diet?
You know what's weird is people talk about protein. The only time they talk about protein is when they're asking someone who's going vegan, are you getting enough protein? But do you know where the protein is? It's in those vegetables, it's in those beans, it's in the nuts, these things that we take. I used to eat when I was in Uganda at one time, I was obsessed with eating ground nuts and rice. Like, do you know how much protein I was getting from ground nuts? And something you should know about veganism is that they also have junk food, because trust me, I've eaten a vegan burger before and I was like, oh, Jesus, this is heaven. Like, did someone drop a chunk of meat in it? Like I said, they have now alternatives to the meats, to the milk, to the cheese.
Honestly, it's not the same, but it does the job.
I've tried soy milk because, like she said, I'm lactose intolerant. I tried soy milk at some point, but then I couldn't keep up with the buying soy milk and the expense, and even that taste, I was okay. I could live with that.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, I miss the taste of real milk, so I do English tea, what you guys call English tea.
Yeah.
Add a little bit of milk or cream in my tea, and enjoy there's some tastes that you get of milk, and move on. So, have you had any alternative? How do you substitute? How have you been reducing? You said you've considered it. How do you reduce? And how is it? How
as well? Generally, I don't like milk, so for me that's not a problem. Yeah. But I stayed with a cousin of mine at a certain point, and she the family will bake a cake, the vegan cake. They'll do, I don't know what. It never, guys, this is probably just me, but it doesn't taste the same. They'll do what they call it, those vegan burgers and whatever. No, that's a lie. That's not. They should do the name. It just tastes totally different. But then last year, a little place that opened up along Speak Road, and they do everything out of soy. So there's soy milk, there's everything. So their milk, they do daddies, same. They'll do chapatis, and then they do soy meat, which was my first time to test it. And it was really, really nice. So I got hooked for a while, and then COVID-19 happened, then everything. But I've tried the alternatives. They're not, I guess if you're desperate.
It does the job. It's an acquired taste.
I love almond milk. That one is like a thing that I can wake up and drink every day. I love it. It's expensive, so I don't drink it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And that's what really puts off people, the expense.
Yeah, it's cheaper for you to eat your beans and eat your lentils and eat your peas and your groundnuts. All the plants, they are cheaper, really, as long as you cook them at home. If you don't go to Cafe Jevas and Serena.
A couple of years ago, I was doing a story about, I don't think I was doing a story, but I went to see a doctor I asked him about why younger girls now are getting their period so much earlier than, before. And he made a statement that actually made me think. He said, if you're feeding these children on chicken that's grown in 2-3 days and pumped with all these, hormones, what do you expect? It's going to also affect what happens with their bodies. Do you want me to take some questions from social media before you? So there's Scorpio who says those days they used to use animal intestines as condoms. I don't know about that, but okay. Quiet.
I've heard about this.
And Mark says eating food should never be a problem. The major challenge, getting the right proportions.
I think the biggest problem is people loving meat. I mean, you can love meat, but you don't have to eat the whole cow. So wouldn't it be better if people actually just reduce their portion sizes? Would we have an impact on the environment and all this? If people
it would have an impact, definitely. And like I've said, right here in the UK, like there is a research which was done, like one household, like all households, if all households just switched and had just one plant-based diet in a week, that would equate to reducing emissions by greenhouse emissions by up to almost 9%. So that's like removing 16 million cars off the road and all their pollutants and all that stuff. So it does matter. Just small changes. Of course, it's a gradual process, especially if you're considering going into veganism, going totally vegan. Baby steps.
It's a bit like wine or alcohol. When you're young, you want to just drink like a fish and that's it. Whereas when you get older, you prefer to have just one glass, but some quality glass. I think it's the same for meat as well. For example, with beef, now that we don't eat much of it, if I have beef once in a blue moon, well, I will have a nice one. So it would incur as well, first that you eat less beef, but as well that you eat a beef that has been produced in much better condition. Yeah, just preferring to have less often, but better quality. It also kind of serves the purpose.
For me, what I take away from this whole conversation, honestly, as me and as any other person concerned about the environment and concerned about health, you can kill two birds with one stone by reducing your intake of meat, and that's what I'm going to take away. And these animal products, think about what you're putting into your body. Every time you reach out for something, think about why you're putting in that chocolate, that ice cream, and that I'm seeing your hand. So for me, it's about reducing your consumption. And being more conscious about the choices that you make. Karunji, your hand is up.
I just want to know, as I'm being very conscious about the choices I'm making, is Nsenene also? I just need to know where it falls so that I make these decisions.
Yes, even that Nsenene falls in that category if you're going vegan, especially.
anti-saving the environment by actually eating insenene, locusts, and other their sisters, those small ants that
they still serve all their system in the ecosystem. It's like, you know, bats, like people are terrorizing bats, but you know, bats can eat thousands and thousands of mosquitoes. I wish bats could be really unleashed in northern Uganda, especially where there are lots of mosquitoes and you would see. But people are now eating bats. They're either killing them, you know, out of hatred, and then they're just eating them because, you know, they just have to eat that meat. So they're eating, you know, and this is something we don't talk about, this love for meat, attacking, you know, the wild animals, eating the birds, eating the monkeys, eating just anything, you know. So they have gone from domesticated animals to the wild animals, just eating, you know.
And we get corona.
Yeah, exactly. We have corona. People are eating pangolins. These things are all associated. They're interconnected. We are kicking them out of their habitats. We are cutting their forests and eating them. So we are going to eat animals into extinction. Yet we have enough of livestock, which we should be reducing as well.
I think it was, while she gets back, there are a couple of comments. Winfred Ongom says, we love meat because we grew up knowing meat is for special days, like you guys said. We eat meat twice a month. Very many Ugandans have a plant-based life unconsciously. So when we land on meat, we will have it. Why you see people have got chicken, beef on a buffet. Roxana Namimba says, I'm not a vegan and I will crave meat periodically, but I find myself gravitating towards the beans, peas, and when I cook my sauces, I will probably add beef cubes to give them that taste. Dairy is not something I can walk away from though. From milk, yogurt to cheese, that's a must-have in my diet. I would feel lost without it.
Yeah, it makes sense. You know, it's about reduction and the fact that people are aware. It's good to be aware and have the information and you make a decision. Like we are talking even yesterday about, you know, reproductive choices. This, you know, eating meat, it's a personal, profound issue. And for some people, it's really cultural. So it's like you're taking away their culture. So we have some from Instagram. Barbara says, nah. I'm a carnivore, but willing to cut down on my meat consumption for a more healthy and balanced diet lifestyle. And that's it. That's what we're talking about, really. I see Nusra, although I do cook vegan sometimes, I'm more of a seafood person than a carnivore. However, I would definitely miss meat if I did not eat it. I cannot lie. Also, veganism ain't cheap, to be honest. People think veganism is way out of this world, but they're everyday foods that you're eating and you don't even know that you're vegan. And that's why I say there's some accidental vegans who don't know that they're vegans. Because we enjoy a good, you know, pot of rice. I love beans, kale, you know, all those vegetables.
Okay.
He hates kale. But, you know, you're already there, you know, and you don't have to go all out.
What do you think would be a thing that would inspire more people to think about this conversation that we are having about, you know, either becoming vegans or becoming whatever? What could be the thing? I mean, I think that my health would be a big factor for me to consider reducing the meat intake, also things like obesity. But also perhaps maybe if I visited an abattoir and actually sat there the whole day and watched the entire process, it might tickle me and make me feel even a little bit guilty. I mean, sometimes I see those cows on the trucks and the way they're being transported, and I just keep thinking about that. And but I also think that if we expose ourselves to these conversations or to these topics and we actually start to take interest and study them, it can be a thing that then makes somebody think about the choices they're making, the food choices.
Exactly. Information. And, you know, practically every topic that we discuss now, we talk about the lack of information, access to information. People don't know. So how do you create what you don't know? You're like, why should I, you know? But people need to have the information and make informed choices. Because trust me, like nowadays when I go shopping, like sometimes I read the label and I see, oh, ethically made, oh, environmentally friendly. So Josephine, you're a news manager at NTV station. This is, you know, maybe a topic you should take up one of these days. Because you journalists inform the world, you know, people don't know they're living in the dark.
Josephine is muted.
I think we've lost you.
You're muted.
Yamit got the newsroom said, guys, going forward in here, we're just going to eat peas and beans. And when you go to the window.
No. Oh, by the way, you could encourage, officers can encourage a vegan meal once in a while or a vegetarian meal once in a while. Sometimes I go for meetings and they're just serving vegan. It wasn't a thing in the past, but it's really growing on people, and they're beginning, to see the benefits of it, whether it's ethical or environmental.
I think it's hard. It's a hard lifestyle to sustain here if it's not something that you're intentional about. Because, I mean, like Roxana said, I'm also one of those people. I don't really, really like meat. I can do without it. But I want that taste, those little cubes in my, meat cubes or something that will just bring in that taste. But what else how does somebody stay motivated as a vegan? Do you find a circle? Is there a group of vegan people who know where to do the shopping of all the things that they need? Almond milk is expensive, but where do I even find it if I want to give myself a treat and take that? What do you do to motivate yourself?
Well, here, like I said, it's widely now known, it's widely talked about. You can find anything on the street, and there is a community which is really supportive. If right now you went on, Instagram and put vegan lifestyle, vegans of Instagram, you just follow those hashtags and you see. But of course, not everyone is on the internet seeing hashtags. That's why I said it's important that the media talks more about these issues and, lets people, have decisions. Because most people in Uganda are now becoming rich. Most people in the developing world are now also becoming rich. No one is meant to stay in poverty. And you know what comes with riches? Extravagancy. Emissions, more and more emissions,
Of course, especially I talked about deprivation when you're young. If you didn't have money and didn't eat meat when you grow up, you have a tendency to like meat a lot more than you did.
Revenge.
So you eat it every day. So for me, my inspiration, Josephine, comes from I want to live a healthy life. I want to feel better. And what you put inside your body, of course, makes you feel differently. So if you eat a lot of meat and your body is trying to process all that, you're going to be fatigued and tired and all those things. So for me, it's about choices, and that's what I want to close with. Any last words, Josephine?
I guess mine is really same as you, the choices that you make and take. I mean, I love cheese, but I'm lactose intolerant. It really plays my body when I take anything, milk or cheese or whatever. But I do it, and I know I'm going to pay. I know I'm really, really going to pay. But now I'm very conscious. I'm very thoughtful about. First of all, I'm carrying around a body that I'm not used to, so this is.
Oh, yes. You are in real.
It's a thing that I really think about now. But meat also, as you grow older, the way Mr. B said it, I just don't digest things the way that I used to back then. So I feel like they stay longer, they make me more tired, they make me, I don't know. So I find myself matoke, beans, and greens person, like, almost every day. So Florence, thank you for the good information, and Mr. B and Anne. I think I am going to really
yes, so from the Blondels, I don't know, maybe if you have a last word, you can close for us.
Yeah, no, you can go the guilty way, saying, "Oh, poor animals" or stuff like that. But you can also go the kind of the good way, thinking, well, instead of having 5 meals of beef this week, I will just have one. But when I will have one, I will have a good one. Not a big one, but a good one.
Chicken, everyone.
And this way you will kind of reduce your consumption. And with this one preventing me from having beef in most of the times. Now, when I have one, I have a good one. But otherwise, I don't eat beef so much, and I don't really miss it, honestly. So, it just...
it happens.
You can go the quality way as well.
Yeah. So it's a gradual process, guys. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. It was really, really great having this conversation. We are going to have to say bye, but keep thinking about your choices and why you're eating certain foods and why you're eating too much. Why should you eat too much, for example? You shouldn't eat too much. So follow us in our world FJ on Facebook, in our world on Instagram, or in our world on YouTube, and subscribe. We'll see you again on Saturday.
Yeah. Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye.